I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular meeting of Tuesday, February 21st of the Stillwater Planning Commission. Our first item for business is land use discussions and possible action, map amendment rezoning PZ-17-2165, requesting review and approval of a map amendment to property address as 823 West 11th Avenue to change current RSS residential single family zoning to O office zoning. I will have staff presentation.
I'm Mike Beatty. This map request is for a parcel located on Washington, just north of 12th Street. You can see from the exhibit that it's surrounded on the east, south, and north by public zone property, and to the west is office. This is a photo looking at the property to the southeast. You can see existing residential structure and an accessory structure there to the on the east side of the building. Residential zoning comparisons, different uses. The request for this rezoning is so that they can use the property to operate a small smoker, sell food, beverage from the site. It's allowable in an office zoning with an SUP. Comparison to some of the bulk requests, I don't know that with the SUP any of these are going to change much. The property is surrounded by Southern Woods Park on 3 sides. The comprehensive plan anticipates it being park property, but the city has no intent to purchase and convert that to park use in the future. So it'll, as far as the city's plans, it'll stay the same. Office zoning is located already across the street to the west. The applicant has applied for an SUP for food services on the property, and historically it has been used for commercial purposes and food preparation in the past. Any questions?
No questions for staff? All right. Thank you very much. And I'll open the public meeting. At this time, anyone wishing to speak in favor of this item, please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Commissioner Stephen Gose with Gose & Associates, 113 East 8th. We're here representing the applicant who's here tonight to answer your questions too. We've read through Tom's report and he covered all the bases. We're here to answer any questions that you all may have. So when we get to that.
I have no question.
Okay. Anyone wishing to speak against this? Oh, wait, more in favor? Please, sir.
Yeah, you have to ask if there's anyone else that likes to speak in favor, and then give them a chance, and then if there's no one else, then you can proceed.
My name is Bobby Douglas, and I reside at that property. It's always been my dream to open up a barbecue place there, but I always commuted from here to Tulsa, where I was working for 27 years. I worked there 36, but Lord blessed me to retire in April of last year. And so what I would like to do is tear the house down and put a patio there and put a concession wagon there and have a outside eatery. I figured so it would fit in with the atmosphere there because it's all park and rec. So that's just my intentions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this? Question?
Yes.
Not sure. I'll recognize you. Go ahead. Come on.
You'll just come up and state your name and your address.
I'm Jerry Owl.
Up into the microphone
can't
so
hear
they
you,
can
sorry.
so they can hear you. Just bring it right there.
I'm Jerry Owl, and I live at 910 South Stanley, which is kind of in that neighborhood. And I think it's a cool idea. So on one hand, I'm could be said to be in favor of it because that's on my running route, and so I happen to notice. And I think it's a nice. Actually, there's a lot of activity in the park down there, so that one might contribute to that. But my question is, if Mr. Douglas doesn't build a restaurant there and it's zoned office, could someone else come in and build something since that's been rezoned? And so it wouldn't be a restaurant? It would be an office?
Would you like to answer that, or would that be best way to answer? Other uses, yes, no problem.
You can, with the zoning it to office, rezoning it to office, any use that is allowable in an office, and we go back to some of the differences in the comparison between office and residential small lot. You can see on the right the different uses that are allowed in office that aren't allowed in single family, so it will change that, but it's very similar to what's immediately across the street to the west of it. So it kind of fits in with that. If you look at the zoning around it, this is kind of an island in terms of it being residential. You have the park around it on all three sides and office across the way. So from a residential standpoint, it is kind of an island there. So, but you can, but once you zone an office, and if he doesn't do the restaurant, it can be any one of these other uses. Could be healthcare, social assistance, self-services, a parking lot, laundry service, research development. There's a lot of broad things that it could be.
Am I right that the office zoning across the street there's nothing actually there, it's an empty lot? Trying to.
I believe that's Stillwater Group. Oh.
Yeah, there's a parking
Oh,
lot
okay.
across the street, which is something that is allowed.
Okay.
That's one of the, let's see, right down here, parking lots, garages with an SUP.
Okay.
A lot of the office uses, especially do require special use permit, which will follow this.
Understood. I hope that answered your question. So any use that's allowed within the office, it would be allowed, barring that it may require a special use permit in addition to that. Another question? Okay, please come on up. State your name and where you're living, and you can bring it down lower. Yeah, sorry.
My name is Julie Couch. I live at 901 South Gray. I have a question about this being in the floodplain. And what would happen with this being in the floodplain?
They'd
And
have to
also,
he-
if it reverts, if he doesn't build it and somebody else builds something there, what's the city going to do about this being in the floodplain? That's my question.
Thank you.
The property's already located in the floodplain. The floodplain, just any improvements to the property will have to meet the floodplain ordinance requirements, which has to do with structurally elevating any improvements above the floodplain elevation, flood-proofing structures in other ways. He's not going to be able to provide fill. We'll get into a little bit when we look at the SUP coming up. But when he does the improvements there, he's not going to be able to put fill without removing some fill in the area so that we don't impact the balance. But from a zoning standpoint, the floodplain requirements have to do with the physical improvements, not necessarily how the land is zoned.
But one of the major requirements in my mind is this or future landowners' development cannot build things that cause damage to adjacent property.
That's correct.
And so
But that's true whether you're in the floodplain or
if we
not.
don't,
Yeah.
if we don't rezone it, it'll be the same requirement.
That's right.
Even if
Right.
someone comes in and builds a new house there,
That's right.
Is there-
It'll be under that requirement.
residential,
Yes.
right?
That's right.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor or question? Hearing none, we'll close that. Anyone wishing to speak? Yeah, anyone wishing to speak against this item, please step forward and state your name and address for the record. Okay, there being none, at this time I'll close public meeting and ask for staff's alternatives.
Okay, we can recommend approval as it's been presented. You can recommend the request be denied, or you can continue it to a certain date or table it.
Any final questions for staff or anything else? All right. Discussion.
I move to accept findings and recommend the city council approve the proposed map amendment as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the proposed map amendment. All in favor,
We'll just do the voting software. So
do the voting software.
Yes, you can vote.
The motion
Passes.
passes 5-0. All right. Next, we'll open discussion on a specific use permit PZ-17-2166, requesting review and approval of a specific use permit to property addressed at 823 West 11th Avenue to allow food services in the Office O Office Zoning District. Staff presentation.
All right, this is a request for the same property we just heard, but the specific use permit. So with the acceptance of this being rezoned to office, be able to issue an SUP. The site plan here shows the existing building. See the cross-hatched outline there that will need to be removed. The improved the site plan shows that they'll build a 30 by 30 concrete pad with sidewalk connections to the park located to the east, and then have a pad for them to place a trailer on it. There's a photo of what the trailer will look like on site, a typical food trailer. Again, the site photo looking to the southeast, this is the accessory building that'll be removed and taken out of the way, and that's where he'll park the trailer. An SUP is required for food services in the office district. The scale and nature should be compatible with what is there. Historically, food service was on the property in the past. The map amendment that you just approved needs to be approved and in effect before the SUP can be issued. Parking is available on the adjacent city-owned property. Any questions?
This also involves tearing down the house that's there, Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Not the house, the building. Okay.
Yes, if you can see it kind of behind this tree here, that's it's a accessory structure to the house. This will stay in place and be a legally non-conforming use with the trailer on site.
Meaning someone can still live in the house
Yes.
in an office
Yes,
zoning?
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Other questions for staff? Okay, thank you very much. I will now open the public meeting. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this item, please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Stephen Ghost, Ghost and Associates. Just to address the floodplain and how we're going to deal with that. Once that structure's taken down, the plan is that the concrete pad would be set at ground elevation so that there's no fill in the area. I mean, what the pad gets built on, there'll have to be some material removed from that, but the ground surface won't change. And then the trailer, based on the information from the manufacturer, will be high enough. One, it'll probably get it out of the way if the waters are coming. It's the fringe area, so you're going to see it coming. It's not just going to hit suddenly because the border's pretty close. But the way the elevations are, there's less than 2 feet of flood water on that pad area. So the trailer's elevated. If the water does come up, he can also take it out, drive down the street a few blocks, and it'll stay dry. And then any utility connections, the electric and whatnot, will be set above the floodplain elevation so that it's weatherproof. So that's how the floodplain will be addressed. And if somebody wanted to come in the future and build a building on there, it's going to be difficult. Just, I mean, like you all know, because of the floodplain and like Mike said, the compensatory storage, it's going to limit that footprint quite a bit. So, but that's, in this case, that's how we're addressing the floodplain concerns. So.
Anyone else wish to speak in favor? All right. Anyone wishing to speak against this item? Seeing none, at this time I'll close public meeting and ask for staff's alternatives.
All right. With this, you can accept the findings and recommend approval of the SUP and approve parking on adjacent city-owned property. Need to note that the SUP cannot be issued until the map amendment is completed, so that'd be a condition. You can accept the findings and recommend approval of the SUP with conditions. You can find that the SUP is not appropriate for the property and recommend that it not be approved, or you can table the request.
Final questions for staff? All right, thank you. We'll open for discussion.
Well, I think this is a very good use for this property. In the past, if I remember right, there has been barbecue served there, and very good barbecue. It's an odd area because you're in the middle of a city park that used to have houses all around that were taken down over the years. If I remember right, the group home is to the west of you. I don't think we're going to run into some of the controversy we had on 12th Street, where we had the office that was down and surrounded on three sides by residential. This is more of an island of office now in the middle of a park area, and I think it's a good use.
Therefore, I move to accept findings and recommend the city council approve the specific use permit and approve the use of parking on adjacent city-owned property with the condition that the SUP not be issued until the map amendment process is completed.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. You may vote. The motion passes 5 yes, 0 no. All right. The next item for business is the approval of meeting summary for the regular meeting of February 7th, 2017.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Bill, did you second?
Yes, second.
Motion passes 5-0.
You have to say the
All
miscellaneous
right.
about the next meeting
Yep.
and then the.
Our next Planning Commission meeting will be March 7th, 2017. I will now take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion prevails. Thank you all.
Thank you.
You say